I'm Matt Easton, your friend in apartment marketing, leasing, and life. And on today's episode, we've got a terrific interview talking about resident events. Things that's near and dear to my heart is resident retention and overall satisfaction in the community. As we know, multifamily traffic can send our clients hundreds, if not thousands, of hot qualified leads every month. But if the property is not turning those leases into long-time residents, we constantly have this revolving door policy of people coming in, signing a lease, and not really feeling a good vibe at the community and leaving. So we certainly don't want that to happen. I have one of the foremost experts on community, on resident retention, on all things resident satisfaction on the call with me today. I've got Evan Happel from Community Northwest. Evan, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for being a part of it. So you and I have known each other for some time, and I know that our two organizations are different in that we focus on bringing traffic to the community. You guys focus on keeping residents and, more importantly, keeping those residents happy. But we both have a passion for community. So I wanted to just take a few minutes today. And first of all, I'd love it if you could introduce your organization to everybody. You guys are just making some dynamite improvements to communities in the Northwest. But I think everybody around the country can benefit from hearing what you guys do. So can you give us a quick overview of what exactly you do?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm with an organization called Community Northwest. We place community teams into partner apartment communities that spread throughout the Puget Sound region currently, and launching into Portland in the next few months. And we're really excited about that. But the whole point is to build community. We have teams that are on site. They facilitate pretty much weekly resident events, whether that be food-based or what we call kind of a targeted event. So depending on your demographics of your property, we're going to do events that are going to be really good and geared towards the people that live there to get the most people to come out and be a part of the community as we possibly can. But we're really about just creating a sense of neighborhood, getting people out of their homes, getting them talking to their neighbors, building relationships and friendships with their neighbors so that they find this is a place that they have a hard time moving away from, so that they have a sense that this is actually somewhere they want to call home long term, or at least longer than just the term of their lease, right? Creating this sense of, for the manager, obviously it's all about keeping people longer so you don't have to turn over units and market for a new person. And probably a year ago, that wasn't even really a concern for most of the property managers out there, because it was easy to find a replacement, especially here in Seattle. But it's becoming harder. There's a lot more inventory of apartments in the marketplace right now because there's so much being built.
And Evan, I think with social media and everything, even the markets are all going to cycle no matter what all the time. But I think community is not going away.
Yeah.
Even in the hottest markets 10 years from now, if you're not checking the boxes on community, I think it's going to be very easy for residents to let other potential residents know that, this place was not more than just four walls and a place to sleep at night. So especially with the prices of rent going up, I think the communities need to do more to offer that community and that neighborhood type feel.
Sure. And we absolutely want to be a help in that. And we want the management and owners to a degree to be involved in that. You've talked about creating a sense of community or a culture, a personality of a property, and we absolutely help in doing that. Whether the manager comes on board with that or not, we definitely are creating a sense of culture. Now, we would love it for more managers to be involved in that process, because I think it's so important that the leasing, you got the community manager, the leasing agents, all the maintenance, all on board with the same idea of what we're trying to create when it comes to culture, positive sense of community within that apartment community, so that you really have that idea of, I do want to stay here, because even if they like us, if they don't like the people that they're giving money to every month, that's game changer. They're going to move, even if they got a bunch of friends. If they're unhappy with what's going on with the people that they pay every month, that's where it, unfortunately, all the work we do a lot of times goes kind of the wayside, so to speak. But
Evan, you guys have a tremendous impact on all of the communities that you work with. I think without a doubt, if they work with Community Northwest, they're going to see a positive impact.
Sure.
Taking that aside for a minute, and I think I've got an award. If you were going to give the award for like rock star property, I think the property themselves and those real success stories that Community Northwest has, although you guys offer a ton of value and there's a ton of great positive that you provide, I think it'd be safe to say you're not doing it on your own for those world-class, I'm going to win the award for the best property in Portland. Can you share with some of the viewers a few things that you see in those communities that work with you the best in also taking that ball as you hand it to them and scoring touchdowns with that? What are a few things that you see that set the properties that are on board with the program and they're vested from the ones that are like, hey, I'm just going to bring in Community Northwest. I'm not going to change how I do anything. And I'm just going to, receive the dividends from what they do, but I really don't want to change.
Sure. No, it's absolutely, you can see a difference for sure. The properties where we have the manager showing up to events, and even if it's just for the first 15, 20, 30 minutes of the event, and it might just be one a month, when we have that happening, they are a part of the community being built. And the residents see that they care enough to show up and kind of mingle with them for a minute and just be around them. If the only time they're interacting with you is that once a month payment, even that's less now because it's all online, right? So
yep.
They're never interacting with you in a positive way. Your influence is really deterred. So yeah, we have managers that show up to these events. I got pictures of our community teams with the manager and residents having a good time. I can see an absolute difference when it comes to the number of people that come to the events, and also just the vibe or the feel of community at those events, because you can see that they're all across the board bought into this idea of getting to know people and really creating culture in a positive environment.
Evan, before we jump to any other tips, there's going to be probably 5,000 or 10,000 managers that view this video, and I'm going to speak for them and probably something that they'd be uncomfortable saying themselves or even admitting, but I know it's out there. A lot of managers are going to say, ooh, that sounds like a good idea, but if I get in front of a bunch of residents, all I'm going to do is hear about the light that's been out in the hallway for 3 months, or the fact that my dog, I didn't pick up after my dog 4 months ago, or the dripping faucet in Mrs. Adams' unit 302.
Sure.
I have a tendency to feel like it doesn't go down like that, that when a manager shows up to one of these events, they're not attacked by an angry mob of people with small fix-it items on their punch list. But I have a feeling a lot of property managers are afraid that that's what's going to happen to them if they open up their world, so to speak, to the residents. Can you speak to how, for all those property managers that are afraid to go to these events and afraid to get in and jump in the pool here, how is it?
I think by and large, when a person is at an event enjoying, this is an opportunity to catch people when they're enjoying what you're providing, right? You're feeding them or giving them an activity to do and they're excited about that, or having a good time. They're not necessarily thinking about the bad things that have happened.
Yep.
They're in a positive state of mind, And so it's a better opportunity for you to get to be around them. And also, I mean, I don't know too many people that are going to bring up their issues around other people. So
All right.
even if the manager's there, even if they have the opportunity, I don't think that it's too common that people are just getting down to the dirty business of what they're upset about in the midst of everyone else.
And your relationship with your community manager and your relationship with your community is just that, a relationship. And I think we can all, when we look at it as a relationship, Evan, ignoring somebody in a relationship is a great way to lose that relationship. And for all the property managers that are watching this, don't ignore your residents. I know it's scary. I'd be scared too to do it, but I think take Evan's advice. He's oversees hundreds of these every year. He's telling you you're not going to get mobbed. If you're in the Northwest, reach out to these guys. They can help. But for sure, even on your own, reach out to your residents and make that connection. I mean, it's a lot easy. It's very easy to just break a lease and cancel a contract. It's a little bit more difficult to end a relationship. And I think the stuff that Evan and his team are doing here, people are going to think twice about ending that relationship with you, because they're now having to break up with Evan, the great property manager that they met at the bar. Now, you don't have to be best friends with them, but they now know Evan, and they both know that you're both Seahawks fans. And, you turns out that you guys like to mountain bike, and you find these things you have in common with your property manager. I think only good things can happen from that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the more you can be a human being and not just somebody that's a professional in the field, to the resident especially, they give you a little bit more grace when it comes to mistakes or whatever, because they see, oh, okay, well, they're willing to deal with it with me in a professional manner, but I also see them as somebody that I kind of like, so yeah. I'm not going to make as big a deal about it. At the same time, you may have somebody come up to you during an event that does bring up an issue, right? What an opportunity to handle it with professionalism and just knock it out of the park in front of everybody. Like, to show that you're a professional and that you're not going to make a big deal out of this stuff.
Wouldn't you rather talk to somebody offline at an event or after an event than having to respond to them on Yelp when they say, this is the place where the bed, what was the one I saw last week? It blew my mind. Somebody wrote, where the bed bugs come to fight with the meth addicts. And I was like, I couldn't come up with a more horrible statement. Like, this resident was obviously angry. Obviously, this had been festering, and they just want to destroy. They just want to attack and destroy this property. And unfortunately for all of us, they've been pretty well trained through a lot of the sites out there, the apartments review sites, Yelps, the Foursquares, that they do have a lot of power. So let's solve these problems before it gets to that venue, because just even tracking them down to get them to remove that review is a pain in the butt. I have to deal. We fix those problems all day long, or we try our best to, and they're big problems to try and fix.
Yeah, and we do our best to help improve the positive influence within the internet world, whether it be Yelp or apartments.com or apartmentratings.com or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if the property managers and the maintenance and all them aren't on board with providing the absolute best service to their property, they're going to overshadow the comments online. Our stuff may or may not make it there, because at the end of the day, people are more apt to complain than they are to give a gold star to somebody. So the more we can deter the people from making bad reviews by doing just a great job, then the stuff we do for a positive influence shows up more, and it has a bigger presence online.
I like it.
Yeah.
Evan, one of the things that I'm very passionate about selfishly, so when a property turns on our service, we make the phones ring with hot qualified renters. Unfortunately, if a property manager is talking to Lucy, the lonely cat lady, all of her day, and having to deal with small, minutia resident complaints all day. They can't pick up the phone and answer those calls, and that person goes and signs a lease with somebody else. I have this theory, and I'm interested to bounce it off you, that I think one of the best things for even the best property in the world is going to have resident complaints. I think any property manager, the best thing they can hope for is to have the residents kind of self-manage a little bit. And I know the property manager needs to step in extreme circumstances, but small noise complaints, small complaints about, hey, you parked your car in 2 spaces. Wouldn't it be great if the residents could kind of come together and solve these themselves? And I think many times they don't even know who their neighbors are. And so they're calling the leasing office saying, hey, there's a car that's parked in 2 spaces, or man, this guy's practicing drums at all hours of the night. Have you seen with your events that maybe that kind of helps these residents gel together, and then there's less complaints because they know each other?
Yeah, I mean, to that extent, even to the extent where you got people starting to, hey, can you watch my dog while I go away for the weekend? Can you pick up my mail because I'm going to be gone for 2 days and I don't want it to stack up? Like, people care of one another. Like, you got people actually like living life together and starting to care about the betterment of each one another that are living in those communities. Like, that happens with our community teams and the people that live there, but then it's also starting to be modeled because of that, and then everybody else starts doing that too, and you got this actual functioning community starting to actually happen. There's a lot of great stories that I hear from our teams that are just that kind of stuff. We got people that they went to the hospital, they were bedridden, and they had a group of residents taking care of them.
That's amazing. So now, not only are they afraid to break their lease because they've got this great connection with the asset, with the property, and with resident management and property staff, but also they don't want to let their community down, and their community is probably going to be bummed out. They're going to be like, oh my gosh,
moving.
Becky's moving. What's going on? Who are we gonna, who's
watch my cat?
Yeah. That's terrific. Are there any other tips that we can get out on this video? I want to make sure that property managers, especially those in your area, can get a hold of you. Before we tell them how they can get a hold of you, we've got managers showing up. We've got, how these events not only impact the community itself, but build that community where they're self-managing and there's a lot of interconnectivity going on. Any other tips that you can throw out that even for somebody, if they're in Hoboken, New Jersey, can maybe do on their own property to build some of this community?
Yeah. I think every property manager or owner or company, all are intending to do these events. And it's really, the fact that it's just a lot of work, a lot of them avoid it, right? They, and then it just ends up being expensive because they just kind of, at the end of the day, go to Costco, throw a bunch of stuff in the cart, and head back to the property to do an event. But I think even if you can make them recurring, simple, even once a month, don't shoot for 4 like we do. Do it regularly and once a month. And even if it's just something simple, an hour, like it goes a long way, I think, to the residents to show that you care, that you're doing something, you're making an effort to bring people together. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be, what we do, it costs money. They got to pay us a fee and all that kind of stuff. And we have a budget that they pay, they give us so that we can facilitate these for them at the properties. But a lot of our properties, our budgets are pretty small, and we pull off 4 events a month. So it's possible. It really is. And
I have a feeling with those budgets that if you know what you're doing, which you guys do, they're probably spending net less than they would if they managed it themselves, because I wouldn't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm probably going to over purchase on some things. you guys know exactly what needs to be done. And I think a community can have a heart-to-heart open conversation with you and say, hey, my budget's X, help me stretch my dollar. And I think your fee, you guys could really help them with that.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm willing to, there's properties that are smaller, that this is harder for them to absorb when it comes to cost. We love talking to properties and helping them think through this stuff, acting as almost like a consultant. We're a nonprofit. We're not in it for the big bucks. We're really about building community, getting connectedness when it comes to each apartment community, and that's like part of our mission. We really want to see this be a part of all communities and not just the ones we personally are invested in or serving. Like, we want to be helping managers do a better job at this to the extent we can. So, we think we can be a huge asset to every apartment complex if we can be there. But that's our heart. We really want to see this be something that's in every community.
Evan, I love what you said about the reoccurring, because I never thought of that. But myself, I'm the ideal, as sad as this is, I'm the ideal person, renter for these type of events, because I'm the guy. The good and the bad is, the good is I'm never really going to bother the property manager. I'm just going to get up every morning really early, head out to work, come home. I don't complain. I fix a lot of stuff on my own. But at the same time, I'm the guy that just comes in and says, hey, I'm moving, and the deal's done, because we don't have any connection. And when it really struck a nerve with me when you talked about reoccurring, because I thought, boy, if I'm on one of these properties, I'm that silent majority that the property managers really need to connect with. I'm probably not going to go to the first meeting, the first event. I may not go to the second event or the third event. I think that first one is probably just going to have those people that are real gung-ho or, real lonely and already connected with the community, which is great. But you don't want to spend all your money just on one shot, one event that's going to connect with the people you're already connected with. I think it's the people like me in that silent majority that maybe by the third time, maybe by the fourth time, maybe you just catch me as I'm going and I look in oh, that looks pretty fun. They're having a good time. Maybe I'll go in. Those shy people that have never met their neighbors, that third or fourth time, they go in there once and boom, you've had that impact. So I love what you're saying.
Well, and because what we face when we're brand new to a community, if the manager does one event a month or a year, two a year, or none, we run into it's a kind of a slow start because people are like, well, it's nice they're doing that, but I know it's going to come to an end. This isn't going to keep happening. Why am I going to invest myself? And then after a while, they keep getting this calendar on their door. They keep getting these flyers, and they're like, wow, life is happening here. People are actually getting to know one another. I guess I should probably jump in and get to know my neighbor, because they're making it pretty easy to do so, even if it is that one time a month.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree
100%. Small community, if you do one event a month, two events a month, because it's not as big a population, that could be enough.
Yeah, but I think if you just say, hey, I'm not going to go with the professional. I've got X amount. And like you said, I'm just going to run down to Costco and buy a bunch of stuff and have one event so I can tell corporate I had an event.
I did it.
You're going to be throwing out a lot of perishable food. You're going to have a ton of water bottles piled up in the office from all of the goodies that you bought. And you're going to have the same 5 people that you always see in the office anyways. So hey, if you just want to check a box to tell corporate I did something, don't hook up with Evan. Don't reach out to them. Go ahead and check your box, and you'll have a ton of extra food and water and stuff there in the leasing office. But if you really want to make a difference, and I'm reaching out to all the property managers watching this. This is going to pay. Yes, it's a little bit of work. I encourage you to reach out to a professional. Yes, it's going to require a little bit of budget, but it's going to pay massive, massive dividends in renewals. It's also going to pay massive dividends in new leases, because although, and a lot of these people watching this are multifamily traffic clients, although we're bringing you a lot of leads, nothing is as good as, Evan and I are down at the fitness center or whatever, and he's like, man, oh, I got a jet. I've got an event at my community. Oh, really? Where do you live? Oh, I live here, and this is great, and this is why I love it, yada, yada. You should check it out. Next time I need an apartment, there's nothing like that warm lead. And the first step to getting a warm lead, you're never going to get people to talk to outsiders about your property until you can get them to talk to each other about your property. If I'm not even talking to my own neighbors about the property, for sure I'm not going to go to work and be like, hey, everybody, I live in the best place in the world to live. So I encourage everybody out there, break through your fears, your paranoias. You're not going to get attacked by an angry mob. Reach out to a professional. I think in most cases, somebody like Evan and a team like Community Northwest can work with your budget, as long as it's a reasonable budget, and they can help you avoid those mistakes so that you have the best possible outcomes here. If you're watching this and you're excited, you've already taken the ball almost all the way down the field, because you're in the right mindset. You want to make a change. You want to have an impact. You connect your willingness to somebody like Evan, you guys are going to knock it out of the park. So I encourage everybody, if you're in the Northwest, reach out to Evan. Evan, how can they get a hold of you, and how can they get a hold of Community Northwest?
An easy way is just go to our website. It's www.communitynw.org. And through that, you can contact us. We have not only is there on the bottom, it talks about our phone number and, our email address and all that good stuff, but also there's a spot where you can request a quote. That's just a way you can get a hold of us. There's no obligation there. It's just our way of, getting in connection with you.
Dynamite interview with Evan. I really appreciate him taking the time. Hopefully there's some useful tips for you guys. Remember, in order to have a resident event, you got to have residents. So if you need more residents and you need more leases, reach out to us at Multifamily Traffic. Our corporate line is 888-683-5885. We've got tons of people standing by ready to help you. If you want to reach me directly, you can always get me on my mobile. That's 303-803-7372. Until next time, I'm Matt Easton, your friend in apartment marketing, leasing, and life. Be great.